Thank you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. Before we get to the video that you came here for, if you could do me one quick favor, just click that subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know. Also, if you want to, click the little bell notification so you know anytime any of our previews go live. We appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. I do want to talk about a very intriguing game. Michigan at Nebraska for us old heads, the two co-national champions in 97 going head-to-head, a great helmet game. According to Circus Sportsbook, Michigan a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 45.5. Should mention, by the way, really quick, if you're watching this video, if you're listening, if you want to go to this game or any game anywhere in college football, any game anywhere, don't forget to check out our official ticketing partner, SeatGeek, and the SeatGeek app, okay? Long story short, SeatGeek is the #1 ticketing app anywhere. 28 million downloads. They rate every ticket 1 through 10. They give you a green dot or a red dot. Green means go ahead and purchase. Red means, maybe you want to sit this one out. But most importantly, why I love SeatGeek, they take care of listeners of this show. All you got to do, go to SeatGeek.com, download the SeatGeek app, and if you use promo code Torres, it gets you $20 off any purchase. Again, you want to go to Michigan-Nebraska, doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. It might, but at least you can get $20 off your purchase. SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres. SeatGeek.com, SeatGeek app, promo code Torres. All right, let's dive into this one specifically. As I mentioned, a little bit surprising. Michigan, a 2.5-point favorite in this game going to Nebraska. And I'll say this, is that, there's going to be 3 to 4 teams, probably 4 from the Big Ten making the college football playoff. We feel good about Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State. I think these two could be right on the cusp. The winner will have the edge. The loser will obviously fall behind the 8 ball. Let's go ahead and talk about these two teams. From the Michigan side of things, listen, the talk has been Bryce Underwood, but there's a couple interesting things coming into this game. First of all, I think it's worth noting, not a lot of teams are playing a second big road game this early in the season. Now, there are some. Florida's played at LSU. They're going to Miami this weekend. But Michigan, I do think the positive is they have played in a tough road environment. I don't think they'll be intimidated, as great as that scene is at Nebraska. But then conversely, remember, they're going in without Sharon Moore, their head coach. Now, Michigan fans will tell you maybe that's not the worst thing, because Sharon Moore obviously, was very protective of Bryce Underwood, the star young quarterback, 2 weeks ago at Oklahoma. To the credit of the Michigan coaching staff last week, Sharon Moore was suspended, and they kind of let Bryce Underwood cook against Central Michigan. In that game, Bryce Underwood threw for 235 yards, also 9 carries, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think it's also worth noting on top of that, Justice Haynes continues to be one of the best backs in all of college football. In a 63-3 win, I think they kind of took the foot off the gas with him, but another game of well over 100 yards. That's 3 games so far this season with well over 100 yards, 7.5 yards per carry, 5 total touchdowns for Justice Haynes. Defense, they certainly weren't bad against Oklahoma, but a very nice bounce back win against Central Michigan. In that game, the Michigan defense held Central Michigan to 3 points, 142 yards of total offense. Again, I know it's Central Michigan, but listen, they weren't even terrible against Oklahoma either, and I thought they handled themselves very well last week against Central Michigan. From the Nebraska perspective, they had that big open. It's crazy how this sport works sometimes, right? They were the center of the college football world on quite literally opening night of week 1. That first Thursday, they play Cincinnati at Arrowhead. Travis Kelce's there. Taylor Swift is there. Then they win that game. It isn't always pretty. Kind of fly under the radar the last 2 weeks, though, because Akron and Houston Christian aren't exactly games that are going to move the needle on a national scale. But to their credit, they're 3-0. I mentioned this a minute ago. I'm one of those old heads that can remember the mid-90s. And this is about as comfortable as the program feels, as far as they're actually going in the right direction. It's been a while, but you got to feel good if you're a Nebraska fan, because you finally, in my opinion, have the right coach. You finally have the right system in place. And I think in this world we live in, where, oh, by the way, Arch Manning's struggling, Cade Klubnik's struggling, DJ Lagway's struggling, you got the rare 5-star quarterback along with the guy on the other sideline. Bryce Underwood's been really good. Dylan Raiola has quietly been excellent this year. And I don't think enough people are really realizing that because Nebraska has been off the radar. You understand what Dylan Raiola is doing this season? How about this? 76% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. And it's so funny because you go back to last year, Dana Holgorsen is brought in midway through the season, elevated to offensive coordinator. But we talked all offseason about Dana Holgorsen, the impact he can have. Now he is absolutely having that impact. Additionally, Emmett Johnson has been phenomenal. Biff, the Michigan interim head coach, gushed about him, raved about him during the media availabilities this week. But Emmett Johnson averaging close to 6.5 yards per carry, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games before last week against Houston Christian, in which the load was lightened up a little bit. And then, oh, by the way, on the defensive side of the ball for Nebraska, the number one pass defense in all of college football. So not that bad. But with that said, the Nebraska run defense is a little bit questionable, which is why my official pick, again, the spread in the Circa Sportsbook, Michigan is a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 45.5. This might surprise you. I'm actually going to take the over of 45.5 in this game. And I know what you're thinking, Torres, this is the Big Ten. This is Midwest football. They're going to bang helmets, and it's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and we know how Michigan plays, and we know how Nebraska wants to play. Okay, I get it. What I will tell you is every piece of prep work and data that I have tells you that this one could be a little bit high scoring, okay? Because think about this. First of all, Michigan, when they have the ball, what do they want to do? They don't really want to pass the ball. They don't really want to put Bryce Underwood in tough situations. They want to let Bryce Underwood use his legs, and more importantly, let Justice Haynes use his legs. Justice Haynes, top 20 in the country in rushing attempts per game, 21st nationally in total carries. And that's a little bit deceptive because several of the guys ahead of him played in week 0. So he's got one less game than them. They want to give Justice Haynes the rock. And Nebraska, with due respect, in the one Power 4 team that they've played, didn't really stop the run all that well, right? They're great stop in the pass, but against Cincinnati, gave up well over 200 yards rushing. And well, look at this game. Nebraska stops the pass well, maybe not so much against the run. Michigan wants to run the ball right at you. They don't really want to pass the ball 30 times a game. Conversely, when Nebraska has the ball, Michigan, top 25 run defense. The pass defense is a little bit sketchy, and part of it is they faced John Mateer in week 2. I get that. But the pass defense isn't quite where the run defense is. Well, that's the good news for Nebraska. Dylan Raiola, what did I say? 76% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. And so listen, do I think this is going to be old school, Patrick Mahomes versus Baker Mayfield, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, 68-62 or whatever? No, I don't think it's going to be that. But could I see a game 31-28? Could I see a game 34-31? I could. And I think the offenses have success moving the ball because the offense's strength are going against the opponent's weaknesses. So go ahead and give me the over in this game of 45.5. I really have no super strong feel on who's going to win. Nebraska at home, probably, but it remains to be seen. It would be a heck of a win for Michigan, by the way. If Michigan were to win this game, Michigan would have to feel like they're in really good shape. No Oregon or Penn State on the schedule. They get Ohio State at home late in the year. That would be if Michigan wins this game. They are also, oh, by the way, going into a bye. As for Nebraska, if Nebraska wins this game, they have to feel really good because they have no Oregon, they have no Ohio State on the schedule, although they do play at Penn State later in the year. So that's that one. I do have the over in Michigan, Nebraska.